Number 1.
Lonnie Boudreau was born on September 15, 1970, although the Doe Network claims February 15, 1970, to parents Elmer and Linda Boudreau in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. He was by all accounts very bright, boasting an IQ of 116 at age 6, and was considered very high-spirited. His parents divorced in 1975, with primary custody of 5-year-old Lonnie and his older sister Lori going to their father Elmer. Linda had weekend visitation. 2 years later, Elmer met a woman with 3 children of her own from a previous relationship and she soon moved in. Lonnie didn't get along with her at all and his behavior worsened. His father was able to find a couple named Mel and Pam Spallon through the Children's Aid Society, CAUS, to watch him while he worked during the day. By about halfway through 1977, the Spallons had temporary full-time custody of Lonnie. The family court eventually decided that Lonnie and Lori needed to soon be reunited with their mother. During a Christmas visitation that same year, Linda noted that Lonnie seemed to be hyperactive. She immediately asked for and was granted custody of both children. Elmer objected to this arrangement, stating that the girlfriend with whom Lonnie didn't get along had moved out of the house and had broken up with him. The cause threatened him with legal action if he tried to interfere. Lonnie was still unhappy under Linda's care, telling her that he really wished she and his father would get back together. She told him that that would never happen. The cause assigned counselor Dave Plummer to help deal with Lonnie's issues. Although it took a few months, Lonnie began to open up to Plummer and his behavior improved. However, a few months later, he began to become jealous when his sister would accompany him to his visitation with his father. Elmer began to have separate visitations with each child, which later led to Lonnie getting upset that Lori having time along with their father. Elmer said he wanted to spend more time with Lonnie due to his tantrums. But it never seemed to be enough. In 1980, Lonnie was placed into a group home with kids his age for 6 months, after which he went back to his mother. He seemed to be better adjusted and his behavior improved. But it was short-lived. He began attending grade 4, 4th grade in the States, at Assumption Separate School. The curriculum, which was half French half English, was a struggle for him, as was making friends. The behavioral issues began to resurface. In late January 1981, Lonnie argued with his father Elmer about how much time they spent together. Elmer said he no longer spent any time with him if he didn't get his attitude in check, which upset his son greatly. A few days later, Lonnie tied a rope around his waist and lowered himself out his bedroom window. He was found by Vanier police 4 hours later at a movie theater 2 miles from home. Elmer spoke to Lonnie immediately after police picked him, and his son never gave any indication that he would do such a thing ever again. The following day, at 6:30 p.m. on February 5, 1981, Lonnie asked his mother if he could watch TV in the basement. 15 minutes later, he was gone and has never been seen again. Linda apparently told police that shortly before the disappearance, Lonnie watched a film called The Prince of Central Park about a pair of siblings who run away from home and lived in a tree in New York's Central Park. Lonnie said that looks neat. As one can imagine, given Lonnie's runaway attempt the previous day, the immediate assumption by both authorities and his parents was that he had absconded again. There were several unconfirmed sightings of Lonnie around Ottawa. Police said Lonnie was streetwise and was seen panhandling on nearby Rideau Street a few days after he vanished, a claim his father quickly disputed. There were several bizarre sightings listed here. Did Lonnie in fact run away? Could he have somehow survived for 40 years? What were things really like in the home? Personally, I think there's more to this family than we're being told.
Number 2.
Lucy Meadows was last seen wearing a blue denim dress, white socks and white canvas shoes. It was July 25, 1996, a warm summer day in a parking lot at Rivergate Mall in Goodlettsville. It's where she went missing. But Lucy was never seen in that lot by anyone besides her mother. "Where's my child? Where's Lucy? Where's Lucy?" recalled Harry Bell. Retired Goodlettsville detective, Bell worked on the case until his last day in 2011. He said he remembers Lucy's mom, young Meadows, in those first moments, and her explanation Lucy was inside her car, and the mother got out to let out the 3-year-old. Young Meadows said she opened the door, walked around to the trunk, and then the daughter disappeared, Bell said. Bell interviewed witnesses who said they heard the mother scream. There was a security camera focusing on the parking lot, but it panned slowly, side to side. The area that we were looking at, by the time it got to the car, it didn't show a child there, Bell told News 2. Where was Lucy, and how did she vanish? Investigators exhausted thousands of leads and scenarios. The search focused in Clarksville where Lucy's family lived. Other leads took them out of state. Detective Bell remembers a tip they followed all the way to Chicago. It was a dead end. Lucy disappeared while her mother, who's from Korea, and her father Tom Meadows were in a custody dispute. They eventually divorced, and Tom Meadows would pass away. He spoke to News 2 in 2001. "No closure, no end to this, just wish we could find her," Meadows said. According to police, Tom Meadows passed a lie detector test. News reports listed young Meadows' test results as deceptive. Detective Bell said she stopped talking to them less than a year into the investigation. "We didn't get a lot of cooperation from some family members, and that made it difficult," recalled Bell. 2 decades later, the questions and possibilities make it just as difficult. "When you have that many variables involved, it makes it very tough," said Goodlettsville Police Chief Gary Goodwin. A tip came into the department as recent as 2016. Nothing came of it, but investigators take everyone seriously. "There's really no scenario that's off the table from you having to look at and consider," Goodwin said. Today, Lucy Meadows would be 25. An age progression photo shows possible changes in her appearance, yet there's no change in the mystery of what happened in the Rivergate Mall parking lot. Investigators had to consider if Lucy was ever there. But a reported abduction is what they have had to go on for 22 years, while Lucy's remained missing. If you have any information on this case, call the National Center for Missing and Exploited Kids at 1-800-THE-LOST or 1-800-843-5678. You can also contact the Goodlettsville Police Department's Missing Persons Unit at 615-859-3405.
Number 3.
China Renee Videon was born on November 30, 1982, and was a Riverdale High School junior. She resided on U.S. Highway 231, Shelbyville Highway, in Christiana, Tennessee, roughly 11 miles south of Murfreesboro. Life was good for China Videon. She was doing well in school, had recently purchased a 1999 black 4-door Mazda Protege with tinted windows, and ordered her class ring. She had no problems in her family life and kept a close relationship with her mother, Suzanne, a registered nurse. After school on October 19, 1999, China worked a shift at Buy Low grocery store at Rutherford Boulevard and Southeast Broad Street in Murfreesboro and picked up her paycheck. Around 7 p.m., she visited Suzanne at the Just Image Beauty Salon at Jackson Heights Plaza, and her mother gave her some money to purchase groceries. China also planned to get gas for her car before returning home. Some reports say she left the salon to go to a friend's house. When Suzanne arrived home at 7:50 p.m., China was not there. She knew something was wrong. China was a homebody and always told Suzanne where she would be. China's best friend Angela Matthews said in 2015 that she and China were supposed to hang out that night. The following day, a school resource officer told her China was missing. Angela also knew something was wrong and that China did not run away. Suzanne called the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office to report China is missing and distributed flyers with China's picture. She also contacted the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Initial reports said China was last seen at the Golden Gallon convenience store at 2610 S Church St. Investigators attempted to retrieve video surveillance footage from the store, but it had been recorded over. The disappearance stumped authorities, who initially thought China had voluntarily left with an adult male. It is unclear why they thought this, but they now believe someone murdered her. Months went by with no leads in the case. In June 2000, investigators had their first break when they found China's Mazda in the parking lot of an apartment complex off Harding Road in South Nashville. The car had been there since China disappeared. The groceries she bought that day were still in the car, as well as some of her personal belongings. There were no signs of a struggle. Technicians from Nashville's Metro Police Department processed the vehicle for trace evidence, fingerprints, and blood, but the car was clean. Detectives reopened the case in 2007, re-interviewed witnesses, and sifted through 2 large boxes of evidence looking for fresh leads. Again, nothing happened. In 2015, the RCSO announced they had 2 suspects, known only as TJ and Chris. TJ lived in Goose Creek, South Carolina, and worked for a big box store on James Island. The other suspect, Chris, resides in Alabama. 2 months later, detectives said an arrest in the case was imminent but never arrested anyone in connection with China's disappearance. China Videon has never been found, and her mother believes China knew her kidnapper and that others know what happened to her daughter. Suzanne had China legally declared dead sometime before 2009. Her family and friends have held candlelight vigils over the years, with the most recent one in 2015 that I found on what would have been her 33rd birthday. RCSO has made public appeals for information, but no one has ever come forward. If you have information in this case, please call the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office at 615-898-7770.
Number 4.
The adoptive parents of California brothers Orrin and Orson West, who have been missing over a year, have been arrested on suspicion of killing the toddlers. Trezell West, 35, and Jacqueline West, 32, were arrested by Bakersfield Police Tuesday and are currently booked into the Kern County Jail. They have both been charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder, 2 counts of willful cruelty to a child, and making a false report of an emergency, jail records show. This morning I'm saddened to announce that the investigation has revealed that Orrin and Orson West are deceased, Kern County District Attorney Cynthia Zimmer said at a press conference Wednesday. The investigation has also revealed that they died 3 months before their adoptive parents reported them missing. The bodies of Orrin and Orson have not been found. Zimmer declined to provide further details, pending the West's criminal trial. This is not the outcome that we and so many others had hoped and prayed for, Bakersfield Police Chief Greg Terry said. The case has roiled the small community of California City, a desert town in Kern County. Orrin and Orson went missing shortly before Christmas 2020, and the disappearance baffled investigators and family alike. The West brothers are the adopted sons of Trezell and Jacqueline West. When they went missing, Orrin was 4 and Orson was 3. The couple say they began fostering Orrin and Orson in 2018 and officially completed the adoption process in 2019. They also have 4 other children, 2 of whom are adopted and 2 more that are biological, who were taken into protective custody after the boys' disappearance. At the time of their disappearance, both boys were about 3 feet tall and weighed about 40 pounds. They were last seen wearing black sweaters and dark-colored sweatpants. The boys were reported missing by the Wests on the evening of December 21, 2020. According to Trezell West, Orrin and Orson were playing outside their home at 10,717 Aspen Avenue, where they had moved from Bakersfield in September. Jacqueline was inside wrapping Christmas presents, and Trezell said he was outside collecting firewood. I realized that I left the back gate open, and I panicked and came inside the house, searched the house, me and my wife Trezell West told 23 ABC. Once that didn't pan out, I got in the van. I looked down the street in both directions. It was getting dark, getting cold. West says he then drove around the neighborhood looking for the boys until the sun began to set. At that point, he says Jacqueline decided it was time to call the police and report the boys missing. In short, nothing. Police canines caught the boys sent inside the house but not outside. Searches of the home and the West's vehicle yielded nothing of note. We've looked everywhere possible in a house we could possibly look, California City Police Chief John Walker told KGET at the time. We brought in search dogs, cadaver dogs, any dog you can think of has been in that house and has not had any kids anywhere in the house. Walker said a canvass of the neighborhood turned up an odd detail. No neighbor could ever recall seeing the boys outside the West home. After repeated searches of the property, including digging up the backyard, Walker told reporters shortly after their disappearance that foul play could not be ruled out in the boys' disappearance. The home is now boarded up and vacant. The Wests relocated back to Bakersfield, which is also where Orrin and Orson's biological mother lives. She has assisted in the search. Trezell and Jacqueline West are due in court for a hearing at 8 a.m. Thursday. They are currently being held without bail and are expected to be arraigned tomorrow. Zimmer said they have already been indicted by a grand jury, and the case will proceed next to a criminal trial.